Luigi Tarisio, 1796 to 1854, was an Italian violin dealer and collector. He was of humble parents and is said to have trained as a carpenter, playing violin as a hobby. Tarisio was born in 1796 in Fontanetto d'Agonia, near Novara, 90 kilometers northeast of Turin, in the province of Piedmont. Tarisio is said to have taught himself the violin and began busking in taverns, traveling around his local area as an itinerant furniture repairer. Tarisio eventually left his family in Fontanetto and is said to have found a modest apartment in an inn on Via Legnano, near Porta Tenaglia in Milan, which became his home and safe storage for the growing numbers of instruments he acquired. He developed an interest in violins, and as a connoisseur with a natural talent for business, he began to acquire and resell some of the many fine instruments that were lying unused in the towns and villages of northern Italy. From 1827 to 1846, he brought a large number of genuine Amati, Stradivari and Guarneri violins from Italy to London and Paris. George Hart, writing in 1875, claims that Tarisio traveled the 500 miles to Paris by foot, not an unusual feat in the 19th century for the wandering laborers of Europe, and Tarisio himself seems to have alluded to the habit of making long journeys by foot more than once. The Hills Stradivari book from 1902 records a description of Tarisio given by an instrument connoisseur of Brussels, M. van der Heyden, who had known both Tarisio and Villaume. He was of common appearance, he looked what he was, a peasant. He spoke French indifferently, dressed badly, and wore heavy rough shoes. He was tall and thin, and had features of an ordinary Italian type. He used to relate that he walked to Spain when he went to that country to purchase the Stradivari cello. During his first visit to Paris in 1827, Tarisio announced that he had a Stradivari of 1716. "I have a Strad, so wonderful one must adore it on one's knees," he said, according to the London dealer John Hart. He refused to bring it to Paris, however, which led to J.B. Villaume's son-in-law, the violinist Delphin Allard, commenting later that it was much talked of but never seen, like the Messiah, in French, La Messie. Thus was named the world's most celebrated violin, now resident in the Ashmolean Museum in Oxford. The Messiah is an example of one of many violins which passed from Count Cosio into the hands of Luigi Tarisio. The two men had business dealings which Tarisio continued with Cosio's daughter after the Count died. Tarisio searched indefatigably for violins and had a true love of them. The novelist Charles Reade, who knew him, wrote, "The man's whole soul was in fiddles. He was a great dealer, but a greater amateur, for he had gems by him no money would buy." It is possible that Tarisio was illiterate and that his agent Carli assisted him with such matters as reading business letters. The fact that a man from such a humble background could rise from the ashes to become one of the most renowned violin dealers in history is testimony to his sheer passion, determination, and love of the violin.